Oh, dear Lord. You made many, many poor people. I realize, of course, it's no shame to be poor. But it's no great honor either. So what would have been so terrible if I had a small fortune?
FIDDLER on the Roof is a 1971 American epic musical comedy drama film produced and directed by Jewison and written by Stein and Sholem Aleichem in Yiddish. This is an adaptation of the 1964 Broadway musical, world-renowned masterpiece, and if you are interested in cinematography, you should know this performance. It's Karina and we begin. Following its start at Detroit's Fisher Theater and the Washington, the original Broadway production opened on September 1964 at the Imperial Theater, then transferred to the Majestic Theater in 1967 and then in 1970s to the Broadway Theater. By the time it closed on July 1972, the musical ran for a record total setting of 3,242 performances in 8 years and 9 months. This story conquered viewers all over the world and passed through the stage's famous theaters around the world, but I will tell you about this later. The production was directed and choreographed by Jerome Robbins and was his last original Broadway staging. The set was designed in the style of Marc Chagall's paintings. Was by Boris Aronson, a colorful logo was also inspired by Chagall's work, was made by Tom Morrow.
For instance, we always keep our heads covered.
Tevye is a poor Jewish milkman. The Five Daughters explains the customs of the Jews in Anatevka village in 1905 in Russian Empire, where their lives as precarious as the perch of the fiddler on a roof. Tevye is delivering milk, pulling the cart himself because his horse is lame. He asks God, "Whom would it hurt if I were a rich man?" The Jews of Anatevka actually live on shaky ground, hence the play's metaphorical title, inspired by several of the paintings of a Russian fiddler by Marc Chagall. As Tevye says at one point, his people are in a precarious position, like the fiddler on the roof. Jewison incorporates the fiddler in several scenes throughout the film. At the conclusion, as a long line of Jews through out of their village, one of the last to leave is the fiddler. However, all the wealth of Tevye is 5 daughters, for whom a successful marriage is the only way to escape from poverty. Of course, you can't do it without Anta, a local matchmaker. She already has one candidate in mind, Butcher Lazarwolf. A widower. He may not be young, but he's well off and would not mind marrying Tevye's eldest daughter, Title. However, the girl loves a poor tailor named Model. They gave each other their word to get married, and Tevye is torn between his parental impulses to desire a good and comfortable future for his daughter, and his love for his daughter and respect for her choice. But after a painful internal struggle, he blesses this marriage.
Chick, I'm a very poor man, but food for lessons, huh? Good.
Perchik, a student who came to Anatevka from Kiev, lives in Tevye's house. He gives lessons to the milkman's daughters in exchange for shelter and food. Mutual sympathy develops between him and Hodel, Tevye's second daughter. At Satel's wedding, the young people, dictating patriarchal conventions, dance in a way that is not befitting for a young couple who have not yet been married. Soon, Perchik goes to Kiev to join the revolutionary movement, and the lovers ask Tevye for their father's blessing. Tevye, is again forced to retreat from his naive patriarchal plan. Another of his daughters found her own destiny, and the milkman indulges in reflections on whether the family life, which was once arranged for the efforts of a matchmaker, grew into love with Golda. After a while, the news comes that Perchik has been arrested and sent to Siberia. Harald decides to follow her beloved and promises her father that they will marry according to the Jewish rite. Hava, Tevye's third daughter, falls in love with a Russian boy named Fyodor. Tevye forbids his daughter to meet with a non-believer, but soon after he knew from his wife that Fyodor and Hava were married by an Orthodox priest. Hava is now dead for him. Despite the mad love for his daughter, Tevye cannot come to terms with the fact that she betrayed the faith of her people. But ahead of Tevye and the rest of Anatevka's inhabitants, another blow awaits. A royal decree is issued according to which all Jews must leave the province. Tevye's family is putting their simple belongings on a card. The roles of children and parents diverge. Tevye, with his wife and 2 daughters, goes to US. Cyril and Motel, with their son Yankel, are going to Warsaw. They are planning to go to US only later from there. Harald and Perchik are still in Siberia. Having Fyodor set off for Krakow, at the moment of parting, Tevye forgives his rebellious daughter Hava and blesses her. The sad ending, in which Tevye, who has pronounced Hava as being dead to them, refuses to speak to his daughter and Gentile husband as they leave the village, is different from the original Aleichem story in 1939 Yiddish film based on it. And yet, still loving deep in his heart his apostate daughter, he mutters something that we hope she can hear. Meanwhile, the revolution is sweeping the land. We know this because the guy with the newspaper turns up in the first reel and tells us. It continues to sweep until the end of the film, when Jews are deprived of their landed homes and sent into exile, some to Israel, some to Chicago, and so on. While revolution is sweeping the land, we see upset silhouette walk away, where the symbolic fiddler continues to play. He stands for indomitable Jewish courage and forbearance. The problem with Fiddler that is so fantastically far from the roots of its story, there is nothing particularly Jewish about it except the costumes and set decorations. Anyway, all commonality, all nations wish the best for their kids' future. This is not the only nation where by tradition it is customarily that a man asks for the hand of his beloved from her father, where people have a special relationship with God, philosophically get through hard situations in life. Because no matter what happens in life, while the heart is still beating, you can find something to enjoy in life. Regardless, Fiddler was a giant hit, winning 3 Oscars among a slew of nominations. It's also a movie that displays cinema mainstream transition from the 60s to the autofocus 70s in its magnificent sound and picture, in its filthy, broad mega hit on which it's based and its broad. Fiddler is very much a traditional Hollywood, not too different from mid-60s mega hits such as My Fair Lady and The Sound of Music. Tevye in a Fiddler cannot accept the choice of his daughter, who has decided to marry a man of another faith. He disowns his daughter and loses her love forever. What is in psychology called a conflict between despotic parent and child. Parents and children are often fail to find common ground on the most important issues. The reasons for this can be enumerated indefinitely, but in fact, we're always talking about the main thing, about independence. Children want freedom. They want to make their own decisions and build their own destiny. Parents who have seen the bitterness in their life want to protect children from their own mistakes or the pain of the adult world, and sometimes began to behave despotically, seeking to control all aspects of the child's life. This basic conflict is a study made by Sigmund Freud, Oedipus complex, where in his theory of psychosexual stages of development to describe a child's feeling of desire for his or her opposite sex parent, and jealousy and anger towards his or her same-sex parent. It also reflects the parent's desire to monopolize all children's emotions and a child's gradually forming desire to escape from the already taught Oedipus world of love and fear. Parental despotism and conflict between parents and children is especially clearly manifested in the stories, where the daughter wants to get married against the will of the parents. In such situations, the groom and the oppressive parent become real rivals, and the daughter is torn between her childhood love for her father and mother and romantic love for her sweetheart. The beauty of the tradition is well depicted in a Sabbath scene as the family gathers together to celebrate the holiday, Sabbath prayer, as well as in a duet between Tevye and Goldie when he explains events between Perchik and Hodel. Love, he says, it's a new style. He asks Goldie, do you love me? She repeats his question as if the answer ought to be obvious. She says that after 25 years of living and struggling together and raising their 5 daughters, she does. Thus, the old tradition, like the new style, also resulted in a loving relationship. Love being not just a feeling, but a series of willful acts of living and working together. Tradition. The artfulness in normal Jewison shots and compositions places Fiddler's soldier in the 70s. Sure, Tevye's monologues to gods and himself are theatrical, but the showy choice to immediately transport him into the distance while his daughters await his proclamations, their eyes filling the screen and his mind, is pure cinema.
The director skillfully operates with the color in a frame, leading us from a carefree youthful summer to dramatic and dark gradations of color, the increasing problems in the life of the characters. The director also skillfully singles out the main characters of the film in his shots. Look how Tevye stands out among his neighbors. The film is saturated not only with the meaning and good storytelling, with its music and skillfully staged musical scenes, but also with visual storytelling.
Film shot in a real village, actually in Yugoslavia. All what you saw is a colored or prasky of village life. The horses, barns, animals, small huts, landscapes. Lyrics for the musical wrote Sheldon Harnick in his collaboration with composer Jerry Bock. The mix between Jewish folk music and teen penalty that refers to New York City music works of late 19th century and early 20th century. The exuberant choreography staged by Jerome Robbins gives us a feeling of travel machine to beginning of 20th century. The performance contains hints of the original wit and wisdom of Aleichem. When the old Tevye is almost exhausted, is told that the money is the world's crew. May the Lord smith me with it, says Tevye with a special Yiddish shrew, and may I never recover. Love for the Jews in Aristotle, we are told, is precarious at best, yet it looks and sounds incomparably rich, is constantly being emphasized by a kind of visual and oral grandeur that is at odds with the poverty and simplicity. When the fiddler plays, it's none other than Isaac Stern. When Tevye moves about his barn singing, if it were a rich man, is accompanied very loudly by what sounds like the entire London Symphony. In 1924, the immigration law passed in the United States, blocking the influx of immigrants. Therefore, it is said that Jewish expression activities in New York gradually shifted their center of gravity from the first generation to the second generation from Eastern Europe. And young people, after the second generation, lost the ability to leeway to enjoy literary works such as Sholem Aleichem. In 1960s, Fiddler on the Roof was a huge success as the Broadway musical because the rise of the generations who only understand English and the nostalgic return to the world of their fathers and grandfathers. It is said that there was a trend of the times, not only Jewish immigrants, but also in an era when intergenerational disconnection, such as the first and second generations, became the extremely urgent problem of American families. This work was popular not only with Jewish Americans, but also general public. A film version was released by an audit artist in 1971, directed and produced by Jewison, and Stein adopted his own book for the screenplay. Chained starred. The film received mostly positive reviews from the film critics and became the highest-grossing film of the 1971. FIDDLER received 8 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director for Jewison, Best Actor in a Leading Role for Topol, and Best Actor in a Supporting Role for Leonard Frey as a model. It won 3, including Best Score Adaptation for arranger-conductor John Williams. This picture, of course, was not a copy of the theatrical production. The film had a different mood in contrast to the musical, and from the original text of the book, the theme of anti-Semitism, which was absent in Sholem Aleichem, was brought to the fore. Specially built scenic set reproduced in detail the life of total Jews in early 20th century, while the design of the performance was more abstract, and all this was complemented by brilliant music. The musical was an international hit, with early productions playing throughout Europe, in South America, Africa, Australia, and Asia. It was the longest-running musical ever seen in Tokyo. According to the Broadway World, the musical has been staged in every metropolitan city around the world, from New York to Beijing. A Hebrew language staging was produced in Tel Aviv by the Israeli impresario Giora Gorik in 1960s. This version was so successful that in 1965, Gorik produced a Yiddish version translated with Shlomo Friedman. A 2008 Hebrew language production ran at the Camry Theatre in Tel Aviv for more than 6 years. It was directed by Moshe Kaptan, choreographed by Dennis Courtney, and starred Naren Detner.
What does it mean, this fiddler on the roof that fiddles every night and fiddles every noon? Why does he choose such a curious place to play his little tune?
Un violon sur le toit was produced in French at Paris Théâtre Marigny with Ivan Rebrov as Tevye and Maria Morano as Goldie. Another adaptation was created in 2005 in Théâtre Comédie in Paris de Franck Vincent as Tevye and Isabelle Ferrand as Goldie.
Tradition. Ah, si j'étais riche.
The Stratford Shakespeare Festival produced the musical from April to October 2013 at the Festival Theatre, directed and choreographed by Donny Fior. It stars Scott Wentworth as Tevye, an Italian version, Il violinista sul tetto, with lyrics sung in Yiddish, and the orchestra on the stage, also serving as a chorus, was given a touring production in 2004 with Monia Veria as Tevye and director. It opened at the Teatro Municipale Valle il Reggio Emilia. In Russia, the premiere of the performance took place in December 1989, after the death of the performer of the main role, Bogdan Stupka, in 2012. The production of the play was suspended as a sign of respect for him, but in September 2019, in connection with the 100th anniversary of the creation of the Ivan Franko Theatre, the production of the play was restored, and Tevye was played by Bogdan Benyuk. In Japan, it premiered at the Imperial Theatre in Tokyo on September 1967. Morishige Hiseya played the role of Tevye 900 times until 1986. Then, Tevye auditors Kamijutsu Nehigo, Nishida Toshigi, and Murama Sajika moved, and in 2013 Nisei Theatre has been staged in. Fiddler on the Roof was staged by the Ankara State Opera and Ballet at the Grand Theatre on October 1969. Starring Tevye, Cüneyt Gökçek played. The other leading actor of the musical was Handan Uran. Petitementeusse and Evet Kodalı translated the script to Turkish and choreographed the scene with the help of the United States regulation. The conductor was Dieter Brooks and the co-conductor was Vedat Gorbachi. The musical Anatevka Fiddler on a Roof was released in Istanbul on December 21st, 1969. It was staged once again with the same staff at the Atatürk Culture Center, which was then called the Culture Palace. The musical receives an uncountable amount of amateur productions all over the world, and it ran till now. Some countries made their own films based on this play. The original Broadway production in 1964 was nominated for 10 Tony Awards and was winning 9, including Best Musical Score, Book, and Jewison won for the Best Directing and Choreography. The film was nominated on 8 Oscars and it won 3: Cinematography, Sound, and Music. Fiddler on the Roof made a great contribution to the world's arts. I hope you watched this movie before watching my video, and if not, then go watch it. I'll probably go make some pancakes. Art for art's sake, right? Am I done with this video? I'm really tired. I wanna tea.